Good evening. Before I get started on any Undersea Hero stuff, I'm just going to do a little sketchbook work because I honestly have been so busy with everything else at work and everything else. I haven't had a lot of time to do a ton of my fundamental drawing. And then these are just things that I do, try to do every day. It's visualizing, doing things that aren't too innately difficult, but like still trying to be representative of good fundamentals. I try not to go too in depth with the pencils because I want to have it be a decision making process. Hey, Michael, good to see you. Do you do like daily sketchbook drills? Do you have any that you like try to, help get your creative juices going or are good study habits for you? Try not to overthink it, just really letting the letting it go. Being cognizant of good fundamentals, really just trying to keep good energy. Where it's like just slightly above like a prelim to where I'm doing not finished work, but not true roughs. Michael says he does a few sketchbook drawings as stretches, and I work on a project and I go draw a little bit and then go in for what I want a piece to look like. Makes sense. I don't know. I just like drawing almost stream of consciousness. Just letting it. And there's the immediacy of drawing in ink. Like I do a variation on the Alex Toth like alla prima drawings, where I don't use any pencil, and those I find very satisfying. I could find myself doing those for. I could draw like that for just days on end. I think no pencil, just the immediacy of the ink. You're seeing, you're not trying. I'm not trying to. Reinvent the wheel or have do anything other than have something revealed as I'm going. Hey, Jonathan. How are things with you? I don't know. Lately, I just also haven't been as interested in drawing any, other people's characters as much. If I'm being completely honest, it really hasn't been I haven't sat down and said, "Oh, I really need to draw, Conan or Batman or anything." It's really just been working on my own stuff, and it's a good feeling. I find it rewarding. Seems like there were a million comic conventions over the weekend. I didn't do any of them, but sounds like they were, pretty well attended. The one up in New Hampshire, TerraCon. Seems like everybody had a busy weekend, so lots of folks out doing stuff. I don't know. There's just the energy, just letting it go, move quickly, keep the pencil moving. Don't let myself stop to think too much. Just trying to apply things that I know. Let's give him like a little round bit at the end of his nose. Hey Jay, how's it going? Jay was at TerraCon. You said it was pretty good. You must have done well with your new Sabrina the Teenage Witch cover. That must have done well at TerraCon. Jay Kennedy slinging the all ages friendly books at this point. Who knew? Who knew that Jay Kennedy would put forth a family brand? Part two, building your own workbench. That's cool. Making all those tools work. This little spot right here at the bridge, like just above where the eye socket connects to the portion of the skull that is the nose. That's something I've actually been working on lately. Jay, Michael wants to know if there's going to be new issues of The Sleepless or if there are any other issues coming out. He has some of them and he's looking to pick up some more at Rhode Island. I'll highlight that for you, Mike. Maybe Jay will see it. I don't know if Jay's just listening while driving or if he's watching. We have many different types of viewers on the stream. Some people catch it while they're working. Some people catch it while they're driving. So I got to keep talking. That's my one thing. Sometimes when I get tired, I run out of stuff to say. So I did see the Flash movie. I saw that on the TVs. Um, Everyone's going to be disappointed to hear that I thought it was fine. It was okay, not great. I actually thought that some of the fan service stuff was some of my that we were supposed to like. There was the stuff that like we're supposed to just go ooh ah, that was a miss for me. I don't know. It was okay. Like I don't know. people make these movies. I don't know. They wrap so much of their identity in like these movies, and I don't know. I don't think they're worth as much effort of remembering, discussing, posting. I don't think they're worth that much of our time, which is why I'm never in a rush to see them. I thought it was completely mediocre and fine. I will have forgotten the entirety of the movie within a month. See, these are still like fairly structured cartoon drawings. What I like to do is I will take my brush pen and I like to just go in and no pencil. Let's see if I can do it on a camera. I've never done it. I don't think I've ever done an Al Prima on camera. Let's see if I can pull out something that's okay. I just go in with the brush and just pull it out. It's not as reliant on line. It's more like an ink painting than a drawing. Oh, I could see that, sure. But when I just go in, this is what I like to do for fun, just with a brush pen and just see what I can pull out. But you can also see it as an extraordinarily non-commercial finish to it, far more in the fine art direction. But yeah, and it just pulls it together. I'll show you one that I did today that I thought came out well. Yeah, these are what they look like with just the brush pen. You can see how soft it is, like a completely different finish. Let's see some of the same structures, but it's totally different. So I generally assume that different is not what most folks are looking for. Here's a prawn force page. See that these are all the different prawns. If you look at, there's just like millions of shrimp on this. Krill force, excuse me. Prawns, elite krill force. Krill or be krilled. but I've been working pretty hard on the Undersea Hero stuff, and obviously with the Kickstarter coming up. You know, people tend to want more finished stuff instead of like looser stuff. So I've been nervous to really push that direction. I also know that I would have to draw it much larger for any sort of scenery or anything. We have a total page count. It's let me see here. Let me pull out my handy dandy guide. There we go. These are all prelims. It will be I'm missing a page here. I believe the total is 62 pages. Excuse me. The total is 64. And I actually can't draw the very next page because that's like the biggest spoiler in the book. Like I could draw most of the other pages around it. So, you know, after we do a little bit of sketchbook work, that's probably what I will do is I will take that. Dance around that one page. Because honestly, that page is just like, that's one of the big joke reveals. Like I can't. You know, I said I would just work on what was going to be next on my schedule with this stream, but like that's like the one page I can't draw on the stream. I think it would just kill the intrigue to a certain degree. Yeah, if I don't get my sketchbook work in, like I really have a hard time envisioning the roundness of shapes, the depth on pieces, like even something as simple as this, like where the eye socket is, how um, there has to be a little bit of a bend around for the eyebrows from this angle, you know, stuff like that. Like I honestly, I have a real hard time unless I'm looking at like a live model or you know some photo reference to start. And I also find that if I start by looking at something as my first drawing of the day, I become so reliant on it for the rest of the day. Honestly, like I can't finish a piece sometimes when I start the day with looking at photo reference. Sometimes I just need to draw like really basic faces. Sometimes I make them a little more interesting than this. This is about as generic as it gets, but It's really just envisioning the shapes bending around one another and interacting in that 3D space with each other. And also being comfortable with asymmetry, like where things are not symmetrical. Um, it's very easy to get locked into this feeling that because something looks symmetric, like when you look at a person's face, it looks like one side is exactly the same as the other. It's very easy for me to get locked into, that mindset of too symmetrical, and I'm too worried about the two sides looking exactly the same instead of working on the character, the facial features, the storytelling going on. That tends to be my struggle with that stuff. But here, if I just draw like a really simple face, just a few different ones, I can really usually cut out and get moving pretty quickly. But yeah, like you see how the eyebrow bends around the corner of the eye like that, the eye socket, and then there's where the top of the nose is. And, you can add little bits as you go if you feel like you need to, but I'm really just trying to break it down simply so that I can trust myself on the more important stuff. I don't even know if you can see the script page for that. So like we can do page 46. That's what we'll do. We can do page 46. All right, we got a little loosened up. That's what my little warm-up exercises look like. It's really simple. Um, Sometimes I don't even use a pencil, but we will work on page 46, which should be fun because it's just a reaction page to something that just happened, and it doesn't reveal what happened, which is nice. And I had a fun layout in mind for this one. I'm trying to get these done this week. I know I've been saying it forever, but I've just been torpedoed by so many obligations lately. It's not like I'm out, whooping it up. Yeah, how many reactions did I have? We've got to get Undersea Hero, Liquid Lad, Correlator, Prawn, Crackus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I really just wanted to go like this. I think that there need to be panels, but I don't want them to be square because I think that would be really boring. So and everyone just looks shocked. So what we have to do is come up with like I think correlator needs to be first. If I'm looking at the script correctly, so we have to have correlator here. And then next we have to have prawn, liquid lad, if we're reading it in order, UH and Crackus. Because this is where all of the characters come back together, and it's in storytelling terms, it's called the return, and it's very, very simple. It's just where all the characters or the story come back together to a specific point. They return to a point. I actually think it would be best if we just tightened in on the facial features. And then maybe a hand, give it some depth. And this is where we're going to exaggerate a little bit. We don't want to do just like a typical yell, because if you were to take a photograph and trace a person yelling, it would just look like they're holding their mouth open sometimes. If you have some asymmetry, especially with the shape of the mouth, you can add almost like movement to where the lips are moving around the teeth, and that's what we want on this. I did get to the comic book store. I picked up Chris Campana's Red Goblin. I have not read it yet, but if you guys have met Chris, know Chris, um, showing love at the comic book store, picking it up, hopefully buying the last copies. Like if he could sell out books that maybe the store wasn't selling out before, it would go a long way to really help him. So the new issue of Red Goblin, and then my store still had a Hellfire Gala variant of the Ghost Rider on the shelf when I left. So Chris has a Spider-Boy cover coming out, and then he has something else. I think more Red Goblin stuff. He told me. I feel bad I didn't. I think he said there was something other than the Spider-Boy and the Red Goblin. Maybe I'm not even allowed to say that there's something else. I have never picked up a Red Goblin comic in my life. I have no idea if I will ever pick up one after Chris is off the book. But for now, I will be picking up issues of Red Goblin to support my friend. And I hope I enjoy him. I just haven't read it yet, so. Just don't want this to be boring. Like having a boring comic is just like the ultimate letdown. Just don't be boring. Have stuff happen. One thing that I can promise you that you will never have to worry about with something that I wrote, as long as I'm, self-publishing or allowed to have final say, I will put that in there as well. Stuff happens. The story moves. There will always be stuff happening. You'll never pick up a comic that I wrote and put out and said, "What? Nothing happened," which is something I have said in some recent comic books. I will say though that the store was completely sold out of Conan #2, so I'm going to have to be hitting the eBays for picking that up, I think. But that's a good sign for Titan. Issue 2 is usually where the sales dip. I mean, maybe the store orders did, but if they sold out, that means they'll pick back up for issue 3. At least at my LCS. There was an artist when I was young, drawing um, books like Justice League. If you're ever looking for a great artist to look at for facial expressions, his name's Kevin McGuire, and he drew the Justice League when Keith Giffen was writing it, and he was just so tremendous with it. His first published work was actually DC Secret Origins of Deadman, and I think the cover was by oh, what's his name? Ed Hannigan. Was by Hannigan, and the other story was a Michael T. Gilbert Spectre story. I am a sucker for a good Spectre story. I really liked the Mandrake Ostrander series. That's one that if you ever see just a random issue in like a $2 bin or a dollar bin or whatever, scoop it up. They gave you full stories in single issues, and that was just a consistently terrific read. I like Ostrander as a writer, and Tom's a phenomenal artist. I love his stuff. Anytime the two of them work together from like Grimjack on, I would check it out. They did Martian Manhunter. I am not looking at reference, and cartoonists would yell at me because I'm supposed to be making this facial expression in the mirror and drawing it off of that, but I'm not. Now in this case, we're in the upper left-hand corner of the page. Ponytail should be coming from further upper left. Trying to use anything to direct the eye as a storytelling device that you can. It's part of my modest bag of tricks. On this page, I do not want anything to go outside the panel borders, because in this moment, each character I want reacting and interacting in their own way, and you're going to get a description really via their reactions of how they react and their character as a whole. And also, we just want it to be funny. Talked to some of the guys over on Team Iron Face recently, so things may be happening. I never know. I haven't heard from the NEC folks in a little while. I spoke to them, when they canceled they decided not to do New York Comic Con. That was the last time I spoke with them. So. Is NEC going to put out a book this year? I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I wish I knew. This is just a flare pen. These are inexpensive felt tip pens that I like to use for preliminary drawings because I can just scoot around on the paper real quick. It's a really excellent sketching pen, but it's not archival. And one of the things that's fun with it, if you have the curiosity factor, get yourself a brush with just a cup of water and do a drawing, and then just go over it with Not just like back and forth, but like you can pull the ink from the edges. You can do all kinds of really cool effects. But yeah, Kevin McGuire. And Kevin McGuire, the facial expressions artist I mentioned earlier, absolutely influenced Adam Hughes, because Adam Hughes followed him on Justice League. And if you know anything about editorial, when you're bringing a lesser known artist at the time, Adam Hughes was not as well known because he was doing what was the detective comic that he did for Innovation? And I don't remember. But anyway, he hadn't done any like major big two work yet. And I would bet dollars to donuts that they said, hey, look at what Kevin did before you start. So the facial expressions really have to sell the abject horror that they're witnessing. I actually can't even draw. This is a good page to work on tonight because I can't even draw the page after it on the stream because it would give away the page before it. This is just the beat before and after, or the beat right after the punchline. There needed to be a pause there. When I was reading it back and forth, I was looking at it because, I want to get through the pages, obviously, but I also need the tempo to fit the story and to give the most impact. And I would say that before I put this page in, it was not doing that. Actually, I have to make the panels more jagged. Those lines were too straight. If anybody has a copy of Iron Face handy, you can see I did a burst layout in that, except I used it for a different storytelling purpose. I needed to fit like 3 pages worth of story in one page, so I turned it into a montage with a main like cartouche image functioning. Not that I expect everyone to have their copy of Iron Face on them at all times, but sometimes. And the beauty of this page is going to be the coloring as well. I think I'm going to do just one color, like monoprints on each of the panels, and I think that would look really neat. I was writing some of the descriptions for some of the rewards for the Kickstarter the other day, and I am writing them silly. So someone comes in like, oh, I don't know if I can support this level of silliness. That's the direction we're going in. Like the Crackus triptych, which is based on the Andy Warhol piece. Um, it says, "Do you want to impress your friends with a um, an ironic fine art reference in your home? Well, then this is for you. You can make your friends think you know something about fine art by just hanging this." Someone said they wanted to buy all of the prelims from the book, but I was thinking about making them a reward, like just a tack on, like, add 25 bucks and you get a actual prelim page from the book. I thought that would be a cool um, reward. Has to be enough room for Professor Pranz's ridiculous hair. I just thought the idea of a shrimp with hair was funny. These little antennae that stick up out of his ridiculous hair. He's crying. He's crying. It's a tough moment for Professor Prawn. I've gotten some messages and emails lately. I'm sorry if I haven't gotten back to everybody. It's just been really hectic. I think I've got like 3 PMs and an email I gotta still get back to, but I'll make sure I catch up on everything tomorrow morning. He's so sad. It's a tough moment for Prawn. Don't worry, he's very evil, so you don't have to feel too bad for him. Just grabbing my chair. My back's been bothering me the last few days. There we go. You still hear me? You're still good? All right. This is Liquid Lad, and his reaction is going to tell you a little bit of something about his character that we don't know yet. So this is a little bit of a spoiler, but actually it leads right into issue 2, or book 2 issue. Book 2 of Liquid Lad is a much more prominent character in that. Here he's just the sidekick, really, or you just meet him and he's the sidekick. But in issue 2, he takes a much more important role. And also you just find out why he is like he is. I actually came up with the idea for what will be book 2 before I came up with the idea for book 1, but it just seemed like a really bad idea for the first book. You know, when I was looking at it from an editorial standpoint, I just didn't see people wanting to read that as the first story. There's some good jokes in it, like there's some people would have had some laughs, but I think people would have been turned off by it. And this is one of those where I'm not going to over-explain it in this issue. Like you're going to see this one panel and it's going to seem kind of out of place. I hope people are reading it to the point where they notice, you know, this panel as being something a little different. Maybe they won't. Maybe it'll be too subtle, but it'll make more sense when the second book, I guess, happens. And I do think I'm going to end up at some point. I don't know if it'll be. I mean, it'll definitely be after the first Kickstarter, but I think I might serialize it like I did with the first Helena book on my website. I might do that. I like the idea of the digital version being free. It's probably a bad business move, but I actually think Liquid Lad will be not a beloved character, but I think people will actually enjoy his story overall as it gets told. I hope they do. He's an interesting character, and I intentionally wrote him to be different than a lot of other characters of his archetype that I'd ever seen before. And it says something about the archetype. Like, that's the whole purpose of some of the structural storytelling choices. It's not meant to just be funny. But there's also like commentary on, like, you know, the superhero genre and all that stuff. I haven't seen a ton of Krakus, right? He's been busy. He's in a ton of the early pages, and then he's in at the end. He was at the Undersea Casino, which was being robbed by Jan of War and Colonel Feathers. And then he came back to warn Undersea Hero that that was happening. If he closes his mouth, that's that far. So the middle of it. Yep. Okay, that's the right size head. Getting Undersea Hero's proportions correct is difficult because they're so exaggerated and they tend to float a little bit, which I'm working on before I get to the final, pages. Some of the pages that I've done layouts for are going to take so long to draw, but they just I think that I think that it'll be more than worth the effort. It's true. It's true. Jonathan says he had a hot streak too. That's why he was mad about leaving the casino. He was partying with the Poseidon himself, and there's some jokes in there that I don't want to spoil. But if you would like to have jokes about like some of the absurd things that you find in casinos, which I find just absolutely bizarre, but are real things, I make fun of those. I don't know. I'm not really a casino guy, so I do take a few shots at some of the standards of the gaming industry that I just find hilarious and weird. Plus the fact that they call it the gaming industry. I love doing prelims. There's no pressure to get everything perfectly right. It's just about getting like a ton of energy onto the page. And it's about keeping that energy. Did you guys enjoy when I had John Lucas on last week? That was pretty neat. I've talked to some other artists about coming on, but I wanted to see if you guys thought it was cool. I talked to Craig about it. I've talked to St. Pierre. I've talked to Campana about it. They've all agreed to do it. But scheduling and seeing if you guys wanted to hear from them, hear about their process too. Hey, Brian's here. Brian Bollinger, hello. Yep, we have a total page count. It's going to be the maximum that my printer will print in a stapled comic. So it is a triple-sized issue. You're getting 3 issues in one, and it's not going to be done when the Kickstarter launches. I'm going to be working on it the whole time, but I might stream multiple nights a week. I might pop on to different shows. Still scheduling some stuff. I actually talked to my LCS about doing just setting up to give away free sketches and like hand out some flyers. And they're like, "Yeah, we don't really do that." I was like, "Okay." More artists? You'd be down for? You guys would be down for that? I was at least hoping to have the artists on that are doing artwork for me for the Kickstarter to just talk about the piece and what they thought out. Drawing it, or if they thought it was too stupid, or just stupid enough. Hey, I offered to do free sketches for their customers. I would just brought like some big stack of postcards and pumped out like Ninja Turtles and stuff for people. It's like, hey, you want a sketch? You have to take a flyer. Yeah, so if anyone out there has a local comic book store that would want me to show up and do sketches during the campaign or before it, just to promote that it's going on, um, yeah, just put me in touch with them and I'll, give them a call or shoot them an email or whatever. Has to be with people who know where I am, generally know about how far I can travel for that sort of thing. It has to be drivable. But I would also do a virtual meetup. Perfectly cool with doing that. Yeah, there is page 46. Just a reaction. It's a reaction to sell what happens on the previous page, and it also reveals, like, we've got the correlator who's just screaming his head off. We've got an absolutely distraught Professor Prawn. We have a mischievous Liquid Lad, and then we have Undersea Hero, who just has his befuddled confusion, and Krakus just being like, "Yes, I'm here." He's no selling it. He's no selling it. Everyone else is selling it towards their character. Kamikaze, I have not been there in years. Honestly, it's been years. Uh, been to Somerville. Yeah, if they'd be willing to do it, I would make the trek. Long trek, but anything to get the good word out about Undersea Hero. Page 47 is a one-page gag. Page 48 is a kind of a touching moment between Krakus and Undersea Hero. Yeah, it's been many years since I've been there. I had a friend who used to work there. Actually, I went to college with, and then he went off and worked for some other comics companies and made a comic book that was, I don't remember the Japanese term, but like Power Rangers, like the multicolored spacesuit warrior types. I think they made a game out of it. But yeah, there's 46. Page 47. Okay, this is a gag. This is a one-page gag. And we have a prawn force freaking out. He's surrounded by like mauled and just surrounded by absolute maimed. What's the right word? Carnage. Carnage is a good word. Carnage of war. So we have like an individual soldier. So we just had the reaction shot, so we need to show another establishing shot. I think if we just showed like some that one little prawn who's just terrified. They have little helmets. I don't know if you saw that when I showed you the prawn force page. See, they all have little helmets and then a sash. It says prawn force on it. That one says born to krill. Krill force. It says krill force on it. I keep thinking prawn because of Professor Prawn is their creator, but it's krill force, which the correlator believes is kill force, but we milk that joke for all it's worth early in the book. This is a 3-panel progression right here that we're going to do. This is classic comic storytelling 101. We'll show like the classic, like if I'm showing a dead shrimp, it'll just be the classic like X over their eyes. You see the whole thing. Yeah. I think we actually have to have like the full prawn. Like we can't have him cut off because we need to show the scale. We need to actually show how small they are. I think if we just show like a little bit of beach, we just show tons of I don't think we want to make like an Omaha Beach reference here. Are there people actually out in the stream that would actually buy an Undersea Hero t-shirt if I set up one of those like threadless accounts? Because if it's just for me to print my own, I can find like a less expensive ways to do that for myself, or to have at shows or whatever. But I have about 4 designs that I've been meaning to finish off. This little helmet. Little helmet. I can't show you that page. I think it's a funny page, so I can't show it to you. And then the third progression, of course, we have this hand reaching for his arm, his little Krill Force arm here. I actually think I need to flip him. Maybe. We'll see when we get a little further down the tracks here. And then we just show him running away. Because there you'll just see an arm floating. He's running away. Move it further over. All right. Yeah, we don't have any bleeds in this page either, which is good. It's a simple 1-page gag. This is the kind of situation where if you were buying original artwork, you would get an entire story in 1 page. Like this is like there's little side adventure one page gags throughout the entire story. And I really think that it enhances the depth of the script and the world. And I also think that, just the pages by themselves, like you can appreciate a single page story. See, Brian says he would buy that. A little 1-page story of little prawn force man losing his mind. And it's going to be up to me with the cartooning to really sell the emotion. And I think this, we don't want to have a panel at the bottom. Panel at the top, 3 in the middle, no panel at the bottom, so that we can have, I don't know, we could actually have the blood going behind it, and that would be a little creepy. I don't know, we don't want it too violent. We're drawing our first little prawn casualty, our krill force casualty here. The idea that Prawn Force was unstoppable, the Krill Force was unstoppable, Professor Prawn's force, um, wouldn't make for a very interesting book, but I can't let you know how they get beat. That I will keep with me. That was something I remember in cartoons as a kid, like one of the lead characters running away from danger, or even one of the side characters. They would do it all the time. Got his little stash, his little sash. Looking very nervous. I think tonight we're gonna call it at 9:30. I've got a bunch of stuff I gotta still finish up this evening. I'm just really tired. My back's been bugging me, so. But I think we did a little decent work. I think page 46 is going to be great when we finish it. This little helmet fell off. And sometimes other people can't even tell what's going on in my little prelim doodles, but it gets me to where I need to go. You can basically see it gets a little closer, and then you see a hand coming and it touches him on the shoulder, and then, it's an old gag, but yeah, it's like a Jurassic Park, Mr. Arnold. And why a shrimp would be running instead of swimming? Because it's funnier. This needs a little tweaking for sure. I need to definitely add some more carnage on this panel. Probably need to add like some more krill force, like falling down or something, just blocking it out a little bit. Oh yeah, there's page 47. Here's page 46. The reaction shot, and then this follows it up. We're seeing the ground level, what's going on. You don't get to see the macro, but you get to see the micro with krill force, very small. That's a joke. So yeah, I think we'll call it a night. Thanks for everybody for hanging out tonight. I know people want to see me working on finished pages, and I'd really like to be working on them myself. But I have to finish these last. What do we got? What did I say we have? Total story pages is 58. So we have 12 pages to go for the prelims. I'm having them all done. And like I said, I think I'm going to make them a rewards tier where you can just add a prelim, just a random prelim for, 25 or 30 bucks. So, hey, I was glad I was helpful, Michael. Always good to chat with you. I will catch everybody next week. Fingers crossed. I'll be working on finished art for page 9. So as you can see, we've got a large mountain to climb, but it'll be worth it. So thanks everybody. Good night.